My coach said never let a tight end block you. That's my coach always told me that.
Well, this one would have blocked you. This one would have blocked you because this one's legit. And can't thank him enough, man. NFL veteran Ed Smith joins the show.
Nice to
Ed,
meet
how you doing, brother?
Man, hey, I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
Man, I can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough, man. Hey, I introduced you as when tight ends were tight ends. Now they're like wide receivers, man. They're like prima donnas, pretty boys. They got to go out in the slot. You know, explain the difference. What's happened to the tight end position, man?
Well, you know, I got a nephew, my nephew Irv Smith Jr. He's in the league right now, 6 years and running right now. And, you know, me and my brother, who also played in the league several years, we joke with him all the time about, you know, the difference in the position. You know, now they come and they're all flexed out, you know, very rarely have to get their hands all that dirty. And they usually have a designated tight end as the blocking guy, and then the other guys get all the glory. You know, my radio partner, he always, because I always say back in our day, and he said he's trained me this. I can't remember the term. It's something about back when or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
way back
when we played, you know, you had to do dirty work and get out there and catch some balls. And it's like I said, it's just a different type of game now. And they have specialty tight ends. And a lot of them, you know, some of them, they breed them where they're, you know, 245, 250 pound, like gazelles. And then, you know, you have the guys that are a little light, a little more weight in the pants, and they get out there and do the majority of the blocking. But to be a tight end today and be flexed out and running all this motion and not have to root and dig all those big defensive linemen out, you know, of those either wide nines or sevens and stuff like that. Anybody who knows, they know. It would be the life today to play tight end in the league. But we come through when we come through. We did what we had to do then, and you know they're getting all you know, some glory. Of the glory. Yeah, they get the glory these days. But I mean, it's a great position because it's such a diverse position because you have to do so much. You have to be able to, you know, combat, you know, do hand-to-hand combat on the line. You got to be able to get out and, you know, read coverages, run great routes, deal with the secondary. I mean, there's so much complexity to play in the position and to watch what they do nowadays. You know, us older dudes, we take pride in how the position has developed over the years.
Go ahead.
No, I was
going to ask you, who'd you look up to? Who got you playing tight end, like a Mackey or like these legendary guys you got to see growing up, or was it just sheer your size and at the time that's what dictated you playing the position, or were you something else and then you saw someone play and I was like, I got to be a tight end? What got you play tight end?
The interesting part was I came out, you know, I was a tight end in high school. I came out of high school. I couldn't went anywhere in the country to play football, but my passion was baseball. So I ended up signing my letter of intent to go to the University of North Carolina. Then the White Sox came around in the 7th round of the 87 baseball draft. They drafted me, and I had to go back and forth with them for a little bit and ended up coming right out of high school playing baseball, professional baseball, and did that for 9 years. I forgot all about tight end. I didn't even know what a tight end, you know, did at the next levels. My brother did go to Notre Dame. He's 2 years younger than me, so I watched him over the years play the position. After 9 years in the minors, and I was up in AAA when I made the decision, but I had gone through the steroid era of baseball, competing against guys that I just couldn't compete against because I wasn't taking the pharmaceuticals. And then I had to go through the strike season as well, the 94 strike that bled into 95, and I went through all kind of mess with that. Didn't cross any lines or anything like that, and still wasn't rewarded. And I remember I was in that 95 season up in AAA, you know, leading the American Association in home runs, RBIs, and like that. And the Indians wanted to send me back to AA, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. Didn't know what I was going to do, but I was done with baseball and had this crazy idea of, you know, wow, we sit around sometime with those, man, I wonder what if, you know, and I kept thinking I was, you know, up there in Canton, Akron, Ohio, thinking, what if I would have went the other route? and had this crazy idea. I'm calling my brother who's down in New Orleans in his second season, his second off season at the time, do the crazy idea that if I get into shape, man, and maybe see if I can find a workout in the league, what do you think? And he said his exact words were, bruh, if anybody could do it, you can. So that lit the fire for me to try it. And I didn't tell anybody. I finished that baseball season. I'm never going to quit anything. After that 95 season, took a quick break. Then I came out here to Arizona where I currently reside. And I started getting in football shape, figuring out, maybe somebody would give me a look. Didn't get a look, but I got it was a connection my brother had to the World League of American Football, which turned into NFL Europe after that. But I ended up going, just flew over there to camp. One team gave me a chance, the Frankfurt Galaxy. I ended up winning that job, played that. And as far as like playing the tight end position, that was just natural for me because that's what I did. I had the perfect size, 6'4", 250. When I finally got into football shape, I played my baseball years 6'4", anywhere from 220 to 230. I was a third baseman, first baseman, that type of thing, athletic. So when I made the switch, it was just natural. That was a position I played in high school, and it just worked out perfect where, they were looking for tight ends. And to be athletic and do what I did, I went over to Europe, ended up, starring over there, came back here and was in my first camp right away. So I played an NFL Europe season, got hurt, missed 4 games, but came back here to the States, went into my first camp in 96 with the Washington now Commanders. At the time, we know what they were called. And the rest is history. I went 2 years in Atlanta, Detroit, Philly, and then finished up in the XFL my final season and got a chance to play that glorious position, also special teams and different things like that. But it was a great ride. Blessed to play in the
were you in the inaugural year of XFL? Were you in the inaugural year of that?
Yes, sir. The 2001 season. I was out there with the Birmingham Thunderbolts, Bolts for short. And I remember sitting in the hotel room the night before our first game, which was on a Sunday, and I heard he hate me talking. And I was just like, man, they're going to turn this into a joke. But, I tried to make it as serious about football as possible. And I encourage my young teammates, because by then, I'm old. I'm an old man by then at 31, 32. And I was encouraging my teammates, hey, this isn't a joke. Let's take this serious. And, it got a lot of people thought it was a joke. And we were out there scripting it. It was going to be like wrestling. It was 100% football. It just had the McMahon touch to it where he was trying to make everything a little over the top. But, I was in that first iteration of the XFL way back then.
That was the Tommy Maddox champion. Tommy Maddox won it all here in L.A., I believe.
Yeah.
The L.A. team. I had a couple of friends playing for the Frisco team who they beat. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, my best friend, one of my best friends, Nate Miller, he was a lineman on that team. So,
okay. Yeah, that's nice.
Man, that's dope, man. That's dope. Now, I appreciate you kind of sharing, your full journey is definitely, one of just perseverance, belief, faith, and to see where you end up at is amazing. I want to go back to earlier topic. You were kind of talking about today's tight ends and how the game has shifted so much. With that being said, are there any tight ends today that I guess A, either remind you of yourself, or B, that you still look at and respect and feel like, hey, these guys could have played even in my era?
Well, we as far as tight ends that reminded me of myself, I knew what I had internally as far as my ability. I don't necessarily think I ever got a chance to fully showcase it because I was very advanced in age, but I was 26 by the time I got in the league. So I'm not gonna say I was just thankful to be there, but I worked my tail off and I did whatever teams asked me to do. Some didn't ask me to do as much as others. I remember when I was in Philly, toward the end of my career there, the latter part, they wanted me to purely be the blocking tight ends. We had a young rookie and another guy, Luther Broughton, who I love Lute. He was more of the receiving guy. Jed Weaver was our young, trying to figure it out guy. So, and I was the dude that went in there and did all the dirty work, So we had certain formations. It was like, Ed, you go strong side all the time. And I was just like, okay, but, as far as, the ability wise, I mean, I see some of these guys, and I would never compare myself to a Kelsey or, some of these Gronk and some of these other ones, these legends or anything like that. I always knew I had the ability to be like them, and I patterned my game after them. It's just I never, like I said, got a chance to showcase it. As far as players that could play in our generation, I think the majority of these young men can, including my nephew. Like I said, it would require them to put a little more weight on, obviously, and, work on maybe a little more of that technique in terms of trying to go down there and get that 290-pound beast out of that 7 technique and stuff like that. But the athletes have gotten better, more, even better trained and, conditioned even almost because of all the new technology, everything had, and nutrition and things like that. And even in terms of just taking care of their body, we didn't know all this stuff, today we got in a cold tub afterwards and thought that was it. Whereas, my nephew, I see him after a game, I go up and see him and he's already getting massaged that night. He's a masseuse coming to the house. They do the cold therapy. They do all these different stretching. And so, I truly think that tight ends of today could play in our area and vice versa too. We had a lot of great tight ends, that played when I played, just they were used for, in different ways. But, the position has definitely grown. And I love to see, how they, Kittles and how these guys get together. It's like a big fraternity now. We didn't have that when I was coming through. I wish we'd had more of that, like, unity as far as our group, because it is a very special group of players that are asked to do what a lot of, other positions cannot do.
Let me ask you. You played another sport back in the day when we were playing. We played other sports, and let's say we chose another way. You go baseball. We saw other greats do it in Bo and Dion and Jordan and all these other guys. Nowadays, the college athlete is coming out and not playing another sport. They're coming out at the same age you were when you left baseball. 26, 25, 27. What are you seeing in the big, like Smitty and I argue every day on the show. Like I'm like, man, NFL is getting watered down. We're older now leaving college because we want to chase this bag in college and play 5, 6, 7 years of college compared to where you guys would go play another sport, come out and be older. I know we had other guys. Chris Winkie won the Heisman, came out and got drafted at 26 and some other guys, but is there a huge difference in the age, even though it's the same age, 26, but you were actually playing a sport professionally? Nowadays, these kids are coming out at 26. Michael Penix Jr. playing for one of your former teams in Atlanta. They're already 25, 26. Does that change how you look at it? And is it going to change the sport inevitably in the NFL level? Like you see the age being a factor in performance?
That's a great question on so many levels. I'll attack it first this way. The part about kids, and I talk about kids at an early age. They're no longer playing multiple sports. You're losing these kids early. Like out here in Arizona, they're playing baseball year round from the time they're 6, 7, 8 years old all the way through high school. You can't get them to do another thing. And, that takes away from the athleticism, if you ask me. I'll give you a quick, when I was in high school, before high school, I played 1 year of football when I was 8 years old. Didn't like it. My mom wouldn't let me quit that year. Didn't like it though. She's like, we finish the season out. Next year you do something different. For 4 years leading into high school, I played soccer. So I played soccer, went right to basketball, then went right to baseball. And then I did that on rotation from 9 all the way till 14. Got to high school. And as we all know, it wasn't cool to play soccer in high school. So I wasn't playing soccer in high school. So I sat around a little bit that first week, freshman year, and the football coaches heard about me. And they were like, oh, no, you're not sitting around. Coming over here, we're going to get you out here on the football field. Ended up going out and doing that. And I did that on rotation for 4 years through high school. Football, missed, I took 1 day off after football was done, rolled right into basketball. Basketball was done. I took 1 day off, rolled right into baseball, and then played baseball all the way through the summer, even missed football camps and stuff like that because I was doing the other thing. So I did that for 4 years. These kids now don't do it at all. It's all, specialized. Little Jimmy, he's going to be the next this. So we got to go send him to camp. He's got to. And the moral of the story is when I was in high school, I did everything. I was tight end. I played defensive end. I did all the kicking, meaning the field goal kicking, kicked off, and punted as well. I learned those skills from my soccer days. So without those, that training, I might never known that I had that in me. I was all-state punter 1 year and tight end at the same time. And, as far as like these kids now, they're so specialized. And then when they do get to college, like you said, it's all about the money, so they're staying longer. I think they're taking away, and some kids will make more in college than they would as a professional, especially that first contract. You look at some of these kids making, $3 and $4 million and, stuff like that. So, it will, and, it's going on in basketball, it's going on in baseball, it's going on in football, everything. And I think what it's doing is it's taking away from their early development, because it does take a little bit of, training and to be around it to become a professional athlete. It's a totally, you're not going to school anymore. This is your life now. I think the longer they delay that by staying in college and, trying to make that money, and then, like you said, graduating at 25, 26 and coming into the league, it's taken away from that period when they actually could have been learning how to be a professional and kickstarting that part of their career. But it's totally flip-flop nowadays. It is so different. And who knows? Like, I joke all the time, man, I was born at the wrong time, because this NIL, I mean, they're paying kids to come out of high school now.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, that'd have been some nice cash to tuck away for a rainy day, coming out of high school. These kids are making more than their parents sometimes,
immediately.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely crazy. It's definitely crazy. I kind of got a unique question I want to ask you. I know, like, in the past year, we've seen multiple former NBA and NFL guys have this debate, what's more easier or more easier to happen, like a NBA player transitioning to football, or NFL guy transitioning to basketball. You're a guy who played so many sports, as you just listed: soccer, baseball, football, and you're a guy who chose baseball and then was able to transition back to football after not playing it for a decade. Do you feel like football, of the major sports, football is I hate to use the word, but the easiest sport to get into?
It's not the easiest. I would say, because football is totally, especially at those higher levels, it's so technical. It's so much more mental than it is even physical. I remember my first taste of an NFL playbook. I was like, oh my God, and then the speed of the game and different things. I will say this much: being a professional baseball player, there is nothing as difficult as hitting a baseball in all of sports. Like hitting a 90 mile an hour fastball. And you talk about now, these guys are throwing upwards of 97, 98. That is not something you see. People every day go to the batting cages and they can't hit 60 or 70. Now throwing 90 plus with movement, and you don't know what they're throwing the fastball. It could be a changeup, could be a sinker. Hitting a baseball is the most difficult thing in all of sports, if you ask me. The transition to baseball, for instance, I played against Michael Jordan. The year Jordan played his baseball season, I was actually in Orlando with the Cubs that year. It was 94. Michael was in Birmingham in the Southern League, and we got to know each other really well. And I watched him hit 200 at that level. And for him to hit 200, because people are like, wow, he failed. I'm telling you, there are not many people on this planet that could stay away from the game as long as he did. And then in one season at AA is not too far off from, as far as levels from being in the big leagues. I faced a lot of talent at the AA level that eventually made it to the big leagues. I know for a fact that is not easy to do. And he hit 200. That was, in my opinion, and this is MJ, the greatest of all, in my opinion, played on the court. For him to hit 200 might have been even a bigger accomplishment than me making it to the NFL after playing my 9 years of baseball, because of, like I said, the difficulty of it and what he did. I had to, dust off some cleats and put some shoulder pads on, and I had to learn how to block and catch. But those are things I naturally could do already.
Yeah,
I don't think you could have taught me after being away from the game of baseball. If I hadn't played it as long as he did, it would have been a struggle to do what he did. So I give him all the credit in the world. As far as transition wise, anybody can pick up. If you can shoot Monday through Sunday. If you can block or hit or catch a football, you can do that. Hitting a baseball, I'd say, is the most difficult of all the transitions to make.
Hey, let me ask you something, Ed. You're not the first one I heard say that. We had legendary Brett Boone on, who's now the hitting coach for the Texas Rangers, since he was on our show just about a month ago. And he said exactly that same story. He just told us that same story. He's like, man, I'm going to tell you, 200 for Michael Jordan in AA may have been his greatest feat over all the basketball legendary story. He's like, that's how hard it is to hit a baseball. So it's crazy. Let me ask something real quick. Having grown up in Compton, we put a baseball field was built at Compton College, and the Major League Baseball funded it. I'm sure you've heard of the deal they did. Dodgers Angels put a thing there to try to get inner city youth involved in baseball. Americans, inner city youth, not the Dominicans, but Americans.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. Now, this was in '98. They built that stadium at Compton when I was there playing, and then I was talking to a buddy last night, and it's funny we're talking about this right now. Do you think that the price tag that these, I call them street agents, has put on these kids and their mamas and all the scams that are out here right now is hurting the multi-sport player in the youth level? Because I don't think, and I'm just talking to my buddies last night, one of them's been on the show. He was like, dog, I can't afford to send my son to play baseball, basketball, soccer no more, like we all did when it was free, because now they're charging out the ass for you to play AAU, baseball, soccer, even wrestling. It's such a money grab now, man. I think it's hurting the kids, and I think the kids that played more sports when we were growing up were less, I guess, apt to get injured. And all these injuries now, man, I believe that when you're always constantly doing something. Look at the basketball courts in the hood outside. Nobody's there. There's no basketball being played outside no more. Everything's video game, cell phone. There's a correlation, in my opinion, and I don't know, but I just want to get both of you guys' take, because I think our youth is suffering from not being able to play because of the affordability.
Absolutely, 100%. You remember when we were younger, it was nothing. You get a knock at the door, and hey, during the summer, hey, let's go up to the school because we're going to play basketball. Everybody had a backyard where there was either wiffle ball or tennis ball, baseball going
over
on.
The line.
We had football in the street, and you had to car, and everybody ran and waited for the car to go. And you got back out there. Those are the things we used to do. Now, I don't know whether they're just unpopular because, I will say it's you have to make sure you keep your eye on your kids more, as far you don't want them running the streets like we used to back in the day. But at the same time, everything is organized, and everything is organized with a huge price tag now. And then in order for you to be good, if you are, all the parents, well, and I used to do hitting instructing years ago, and I used to almost feel guilty. These people were bringing me their 5 and 6 and 7-year-old kids for hitting lessons. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? This is for something for, an advanced level. I'm sitting here just taking money from these people. And I would always tell them, you probably want to wait a few years. But no, we need this now. And okay, if you want to spend the money, I'm not going to, not take it from you. But that's the nature of the beast now. Everybody's got to get the personal training and personal instruction. He's going to play year round, because if he's not, somebody else is, and they're going to take his spot. Then it's all the AAU and the circuits and this and that. It hasn't for a family that's just making it. That expendable, the income, you can't afford to send your kid. The registration fees, and now we're traveling now, so we got to do fundraisers for this. We used to go.
That's a scam.
You used to pay a $20 registration fee. Here's your equipment. Here's your helmet. Your little shoulder pads. And then go. And that was, we will see you next year as far as when you owe us more money. Now, like I said, and as you mentioned, it's just taken away from. And then the other thing is making this more of a business even for the kids. Kids are burning out at a much earlier age because it's almost like a job for them. That's all they're doing. They lose the love for it. The parents it's more about them. And then as far as the injury, like some of these little pitchers, they pitch all through the year. Those little elbows and tendons and things like, they need rest. They need time to go on a football field or a soccer field and kick a ball around for 4 to 6 months and let that stuff heal. But they're not getting it, and it's hurting competition. It's hurting these kids. You have now 10, 11-year-old, 12-year-old kids getting Tommy John surgery. That was never heard of.
Right.
You'd have a sore shoulder and stuff like that, but never so early with all these surgeries and that. And the whole thing is it all revolves about the almighty dollar. They're putting the money in because they just know Lil Johnny's going to be the most famous XYZ, whatever sport you call it. He's going to be the next, and we got to fund that now, so he'll take care of us later, I guess. I don't know,
hey,
but
before I know Smitty has a question, and before I last you the last one before we get out of here, and I can't thank you enough. My buddy owns the biggest soccer club in Southern California. It's called Legends, but Legends FC. That dude cleared like $30 million last year.
Oh man,
$30 million for kids to play soccer. He's got 100 fields, and you can't even get registered in the thing. It's so expensive. It's so packed. It's unbelievable, man. The money that these cats are making off the youth, and I'm just like, and I'll be honest, the youth that are playing, and because I'm like I said. I'm from Compton, and I'm like, it's a lot of affluent motherfuckers playing soccer now.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see no hood kids out here playing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we got even for myself. I had to feed. My dad had to put the dinner on the table first. He wouldn't have been able to pay for me to play all these other sports when it was free. Yeah. So like, I don't know. But Smitty has a question.
Yeah, no, this is my final question because I know a few moments ago you mentioned that you and Mike, you and Jordan had got pretty tight during the time where he was playing baseball. Just curious, did you have any like funny stories or just good stories of you guys, whether it was competitive, hanging out, just anything good?
He got to know me pretty well, and I got to know him. And I think what he appreciated about me is I treated him just like he was Mike. Everybody else, right. There was like cameras everywhere he went. Even my teammates, they were just falling over him, stuff like that. To me, he was just Mike. So we got to know each other really early in the season. And one of the days, and I was playing my third base position and doing batting practice, he'd talking, and he'd be in the dugout, jawing at me and stuff like that. And one time he was on base, and Terry Francona was the manager of that team as well. So we're standing the third one early in the season. He said, I'm going to get one by you down the line. I said, Mike, look. I said, I'm a big old cat down here. Nothing gets down my line. And so you can give it your best shot. That man for the rest of the season was trying to yank one down the line, get one down the line. And then, he hit me some weak ground balls every now and then, stuff like that. And I kid you not, entire season he kept trying, and kept reminding me he was going to do it. Very last game, and I'm not lying to you, I would not make this last game of the season that we're seeing them. He's standing up there at home, a big old 6'6", and and he keeps looking down at me. And I know he knows that I'm thinking, I'm like, Mike, you're not getting one down here. So at one point, he fakes a bunt, drag bunt. So I'll go charging in, and he doesn't bunt it, but I come charging in. I stopped on the grass. I gave him a look like, you big ass 6'6", you up here, faking a bunt on me. I'm like, you better not. So I backed off. So we're playing the cat and mouse game. The whole, all of a sudden, man, he gets a chin. I get my shortstop let me know off speed. We have certain codes and stuff. Mike gets out in front of a changeup, hits a one hopper down the line. I go one step, dive, miss it, land. I got chalk and everything and I look up, and the umpire's pointing fair. So I get up, I dust myself off, and all I see is this dude cruising into second base with the biggest smile that you could imagine on your face. And he had made this a mission. He told me what he was going to do, and he was not, he was not going to leave until he got it done. And I just remember it was a ground ball or something. He got over to third base. It was me, him, and Tito sitting there talking. And I was just like, you son of a bitch. And he was just like, I told you. And I was just, but something that minute, that small, he made it a mission. Like he told you he was going to do something, and he tried. Every chance he got, he's trying to get something down the line. And on the very last at bat, he yanked one down the line on me. And I was just like, you son of a, and I was so cool. After the game, he ended up sending me, because everybody was badgering him for, stuff all through the year, balls signed up. Our bat boy comes over from the other locker room, and he says, Ed, he said, Mr. Jordan sent you these. He gave me 2 pair of his cleats, game-worn cleats. He gave them to me, and the rest of my teammates were like, wow. And I was just like, I didn't know what I did to deserve it. He just thought it was he loved our relationship. He was cool. He sent those to me. And those are like some of the most prized possessions I have in the world. But it was really, like I said, that, you know, and then we had another couple of good times. We went out a couple of times when they were in town, and to go out with Michael Jordan, you talking about feeling like a rock star. This dude, man, we went places. They had a call in advance to let the place know we were coming and rope sections off for him. And I remember walking in with, you know, me and him and his bodyguard, George, I think his name was, and just, you know, you talking about feeling, and this is before I played in the NFL. I'm just a minor league ball player. You talking about walking in with MJ, the greatest. I'm just like, damn, this is kind of cool, you know.
Right.
You know, this dude, man, he brought you're talking about going to a whole nother level. But I'll tell you this, I was so glad when he went back and played basketball, because I was a big Bulls fan pre and post, but I was never more of a fan of his than after what he went through in the minor leagues, to go back and then, you know, regain his kingness and stuff like that. It was just cool. But to know that I was on the same field with him, and he respected me as much as I respected him for doing what he was doing, and he respected me for doing what I was doing. It was the coolest thing. So
that's amazing, man.
That's a crazy story, man. I love hearing the OGs, man. That's why I have all these OGs to get young Smitty here.
That's why I requested to get you guys on. So I appreciate that, man.
And I appreciate you guys. I want to thank Craig too for connecting me with you guys.
Craig, a bad boy.
That's the man right there. Yeah,
no doubt. Craig,
we might be family. You know, my Darnell Smith, Ed Smith. I gotta look through the family line. Our noses are similar. I don't know. We might be my uncle.
We can somehow, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And I can't thank you enough, brother. We'll have to do it again, hopefully, man, during the season.
Anytime, man. You guys are part of the family now. So I wish you guys continued success and look forward to, you know, we'd love to have you guys jump on some of the stuff I'm doing as well. Anytime you need, just hit me up, man.
Yes, anytime. All right, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Take care, man. Appreciate it.